cars, and in fact do a broadcast, an extended version of something yesterday. And that is how I think Mclaren 620R could be the best track day car if one has all the money in the world. So anyone who likes cars would have their dream garage, and after so many years of thinking which cars I would buy in a collection, I always found that I'm ending up like 15-16 cars, which is incredibly insane and not desirable. And I managed to distill these down to 5 cars to collect, each tapping into a different occasion, a different style, and one of those is obviously a track day car. And I think in the current market, Mclaren 620R could be the best. So we all know that there are track day specials produced. For example, McLaren Senna could be one of those, and then Brabham BT62, which has a naturally aspirated V8 engine, could be another option. Or one of the favorites is Porsche 935, that is based on the 991 generation GT2 RS. But when we think about those cars, they are all incredibly expensive and incredibly limited number of produced. So for example, the Porsche has only 70 units and costing over 1 million, if I'm not mistaken. The same applies for Brabham. The production is not limited in number, but I think it's limited in production capacity. So again, over 1 million pounds. And finally Senna, again, limited number of produced cars and costing huge amount of money. So unless you are a pro endurance driver, I don't think anyone would buy those cars to track them. Actually, they would end up being in collections, which is a shame. And then it brings us to the supercar sort of domain from the hypercars, and within those supercars I think McLaren 620R is the most sensible option. That I would say against 720 GT3X, because GT3X is track day only, so one cannot drive that as a daily driver, whereas the 620R is street legal, so it has that advantage. So today I will drive back to back the GT4 and GT3. Both of those I tweaked in the settings to have the same power to weight ratio as the 620R, which currently, as it's sold, obviously is 620 horsepower, but weighing 1280 something kilos. So GT4, it's not possible to increase the power output, so what I did is just tweak the weight so that it matches the power to weight ratio, and I will try both of these cars back to back to have a feel of how it would be on a track. The track of choice is not my favorite, Brands Hatch, but it's the only one from UK, so I want to keep it UK focus as much as possible. It's a shame that we don't have Silverstone in Gran Turismo, but who knows, maybe in GT7 we will have that. If I had the money, what I would do is obviously do a few changes on this car. Let's stick with racing medium tires, and one of those is a wild idea that I would try to replace the rear wing with an F1 front wing from Daniel Ricciardo's car. I don't know if it would work, and I don't know how that would feel, whether it can be implanted robustly enough. I really don't know, but if I had the money and the resources, that would be something that I want to try. So what I will do is I'll try to set maybe 4 or 5 laps with each car, and then compare the lap times and also how the cars feel. I quite like these between class battles, and previously I was driving a Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport against the GT3s in a technical circuit like the streets of Willow. I think it's great fun, but in circuits with longer straights, GT4s cannot really cope with the GT3s. But in terms of agility, I think they really feel more playful. Playful also would mean maybe it's a little bit more difficult to control the car. So the first lap, a little under 130. Previously I was lapping Brands Hatch under 120 with GT2 class, more specifically any NSX, the older version. So that's a big gap. Yeah, the car is really tail happy. I think this corner here is the most challenging corner in the track. Trying to use the full width of the circuit. Obviously the preceding run I lost a lot of time there, so this one's much more cleaner. Just as a disclaimer, I'm playing this with DualShock 4 controller, so I don't have a sim rig. This is something that I really want sometime in the future, but the setup that I ideally want to put together costs around £6,000, and our current house is not that large, nor I have that kind of money to bury in a sim rig, so I think this was a good lap. Yeah, I would believe if I was like 6 seconds slower. In a GT4 relative to a GT2 car. I think that sounds just about right. even in a game like Gran Turismo, it's very evident to me how technical and difficult this circuit could be in real life. Personally, I've never driven here. I don't think I would track my current TCR, as it is the only car, so but yeah, if I had resources I would definitely get something like a 620R for track day purposes. So what I want to do now is switch to the GT3. So distance that we covered is 25.5 kilometers to cover, which means that I can switch to the GT3 and then complete enough laps to meet that. So 25 for 6 laps maybe. I'm not going to tweak the car settings any further, so the suspension, this, that, all stock default, because normally McLarens are not my choice for GT4 or GT3 class, but I just want to get a feel of it as a track day car. There could be few things to be said. For example, why I wouldn't prefer a Porsche. I would definitely want to have a Porsche in my collection, but it would be a classic rather than a track day toy. One of the main reasons being is obviously McLarens are mid-engine cars, whereas Porsche is rear engine. And the other issue is that McLaren has a carbon monocoque chassis, whereas Porsche doesn't have that, so it feels a little bit more exotic, a little bit more track focus than a GT3, in my opinion. But an interesting comparison could be between those two cars, particularly 620R versus the new GT3 RS. It should be coming out in due course. I think my racing line is much better. Another wild idea to consider with McLaren is that Lanzante, their racing team, which were incredibly successful in Le Mans, had sort of 25-year anniversary editions of various McLarens. I don't know, I don't think 620R was one of those they tweaked, but I'm sure it should be possible to make further tweaks to the car. And if I'm not mistaken, it's only available in papaya orange and black colors, and papaya orange would be my choice of color. obviously GT3 feels very planted, but in reality the width of these cars are fairly comparable. The aero in the rear is a little bit more pronounced, and obviously I told my solution to that problem if I had the chance. And front winglets is definitely a must in any track car. Wow, I cut a lot of that corner, but it was fairly unintentional. It's just the rear touching the grass and I will feel disappointed if I cannot go below 125, but mistaking this lap meant that it won't happen now, so I'll give it a try. In the next lap. As I said in the intro, I think a direct comparison between Mclaren Senna, Porsche 935 and Brabham BT62 could be incredibly interesting, but sometimes manufacturers don't allow you to do these kind of comparisons. But anyone out there who has the resources, I think, should consider. I think that would be one hell of a track challenge. Yeah, I need to keep this up and find another 0.2 of a second somewhere. Can this happen? that slide was completely unintentional, and it would be bonkers if one can control that in real life. I think that would be fairly impossible, but it is what it is. So I think I couldn't beat that 125 mark, at least in these 6 laps, but I think this is fairly good enough. So what I can do, actually still 1.3 kilometers to the target, so what we can do is let's give one final push. If it happens, it will happen. If not the end of the world. Sliding looks cool, but it never is the fastest racing line, so I would be incredibly surprised if I end up beating that 125 mark. Literally giving everything. Fairly slow relative to the previous laps, actually, so yeah. Let's see how the car looks on the outside. Yeah, definitely the production car should have had a larger wing. The 620R wing resembles the one on the GT4 and something similar to what we had seen recently in Z06 Corvette, but this pronounced, more elevated wing from the GT3, it definitely looks much better, and obviously has a presence and looks fairly serious. So yeah, in summary, if I had all the money and want to build a car collection, my track car of choice would be 620R with some cosmetic tweaks, for example center lock wheels, a more pronounced rear wing and front winglets in carbon fiber. What I will do is I will end up this broadcast with the Wheel of Fortune from daily workout. Let's see what we will have. Voila. It's a 993 RS club sport. Lovely. Thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.